Hello, fifth grade. I just wanted to make a quick video here about weathering and erosion. This is part of our Unit 6 science that we are currently doing. I know many of you have already completed this lesson 1 and 2, and hopefully you're able to see this before you take the quiz. But I wanted to share with you some interesting examples and really cool pictures from uh, Utah's national parks with weathering and erosion. Utah is where I was born and raised, and I just wanted to share some really cool pictures with weathering and erosion and kind of talk through what this process looks like. So, with weathering and erosion, we have cool things that happen. But first, what is weathering and erosion? Weathering is the breaking down of rocks into smaller pieces. So these big rocks turn into smaller rocks through a process called weathering, with the snow melting and freezing and coming and going, and also the wind and the rain. Over time, these big rocks get broken down into smaller and smaller rocks. This is called weathering. And weathering will then lead to erosion. Erosion is when wind and water carry away the sediment to a different place. So in this example here in this picture, we have dirt being moved by the water. The soil is taken away by the water. The soil doesn't magically disappear. It is going down with the water into a different place and deposited in a different place. So erosion is the moving of the sediment. Weathering is the breaking down of the rocks, and the erosion is when the rocks and soil are moved. This is how weathering and erosion creates something like this. This is called Zion Canyon, part of Zion National Park. I grew up about 30 minutes away from this place. Very, very pretty. These sandstone rocks were eroded and weathered away over thousands and thousands of years. And as we can see by this river, a river runs through Zion Canyon, and that has taken away the sediment that is in the canyon. Slowly but surely, over thousands and thousands and thousands of years, the sediment were taken away so that the big rock canyon walls were left. Here's another picture of the same thing. In this we can kind of see again how the sediment was slowly taken away out of the canyon through a process of weathering and erosion. This is a more another example of how we can see how water is eroding the small rocks in the bed floor here. The smaller rocks probably come from these canyon walls that were breaking down and come into the river here, and they're being taken away by the process of erosion, making this small slot canyon that they are climbing through. Here's another Utah National Park. This is called Bryce Canyon National Park, and this is also another process of weathering and erosion that has made these rock formations that are very, very cool. All of these little rock formations are called hoodoos. And these hoodoos are made by the weathering and erosion over time. It's a very unique formation. We can see by this angle a little more clearly how the rocks and the sediment are slowly being taken away and deposited in different places, and they run off and are eroded with the rains down the mountain. So these very interesting figures are slowly made over time by weathering and erosion. Here's another one of Utah's interesting landmarks. This is probably one of the most famous ones. This is the one on Utah license plates. This is called Delicate Arch in Arches National Park. And you can see this arch was cut off or cut out of the sandstone rock. The sandstone rock, of course, kind of is like sand hardened over time, so it's very easy to erode and take away over time. And this picture here kind of shows a little bit more how this ice or this snow will come in, get on the arch, will freeze, expand, and slowly cut away to make this arch over time. Just a quick word also on buttes and plateaus. These words can be a little bit tricky. On the quiz, I know that it has pictures like this that might trick you up if you're not careful. A plateau is a large structure with a flat top, and a butte is basically a small plateau. So a butte would be a smaller version of a plateau. So remember, and don't get those two confused because I know those two are on your quiz. And then a quick word about acid rain. Acid rain is a kind of chemical weathering. So these would be kinds of physical weathering, and acid rain would be more of a chemical weathering. And over time, we can see how the pollution that gets in the atmosphere can affect the rains that come down on our land. And the effects of that could be some acid rain cutting away at things like sculptures and other stone and rocks and trees, and everything around us can be chemically altered or weathered by acid rain. So that was just a quick what is chemical weathering? Chemical weathering would be more like acid rain. And physical weathering would be more over time, the weather, precipitation, the erosion would naturally carve away over time on the earth. So this would be more of a physical weathering. Again, we can see how the sandstone rock was cut out over time, and just a really cool picture of Arches National Park. This is Delicate Arch, the same one that I showed you earlier. And so I hope you enjoyed this tour of Utah. This is kind of some cool places that I really like and I wanted to share with you. So hopefully you guys are doing well on your assignments. And let me know if you have any questions. Again, you can find me anytime on Google Hangouts from 10 to 12. And that's all. Thanks.